How dare you interrupt the king's meal? Bryn Ashford's hands won't stop shaking. The folded napkin she's just slid under King Soren Nightvale's dinner plate feels like a bomb she's armed with her own trembling fingers. She can feel every pair of eyes in the room boring into her back. The other servers, the guards flanking the walls, and worst of all, Lady Isolde Crenshaw, the Vampire King's elegant fiancée, whose voice just cracked like a whip across the polished floor. I'm sorry, my lady. I was just what? Isolde rises from her seat, her blood-red gown flowing around her like liquid anger. She's breathtaking in the way a blade catching moonlight is breathtaking, beautiful and deadly. You were just reaching across the king's place, setting like some common. Isolde. Soren's voice is quiet, but it cuts through her tirade effortlessly. He hasn't moved, except to place one pale hand flat on the table beside his untouched wine. Let the girl speak. Bryn's heart hammers so hard, she thinks it might punch through her ribcage. She's been working at the Crimson Sovereign for 3 months. 3 months of 12-hour shifts, aching feet, and barely enough tips to cover her mother's medical bills. 3 months of keeping her head down and her mouth shut. Of learning that vampires tip well if you're efficient and invisible. She's about to throw all of that away. Your Majesty, she whispers, and her voice comes out steadier than she expected. Please, check under your plate. The silence that follows feels like falling. Bryn watches Soren's eyes, silver gray like storm clouds, ancient and unreadable, flick from her face to the table. His hand moves with supernatural grace, lifting the platinum charger and the porcelain plate stacked on top of it. The napkin sits there, folded into a small, precise square. Bryn's handwriting sprawls across it in the blue ballpoint pen she keeps in her apron. Your wine is poisoned. The blonde woman ordered me to add something before service. I'm sorry, I couldn't let you drink it. Time does something strange. It stretches and compresses. Bryn sees Soren unfold the napkin with deliberate care. Sees his jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. Sees Isolde's expression shift from indignation to something that might be panic, quickly masked. What does it say? Isolde's voice has gone honey-sweet, which somehow makes it more frightening. Darling, what did that silly girl write? Soren doesn't answer. Instead, he lifts the wine glass, the one Bryn watched Isolde hand her personally 20 minutes ago, insisting it was a special vintage that needed to be served to the king immediately, and holds it up to the light. The wine is the color of garnets. Beautiful. Perfect. Potentially deadly. I think, Soren says slowly, his gaze finally lifting to pin Isolde in place, that we need to have a conversation. Guards. 2 vampires materialize from the shadows so quickly, Bryn gasps. They're at Isolde's sides before she can do more than widen her eyes in false confusion. Soren, what is this? You can't possibly believe. Take Lady Crenshaw to the East Wing. Soren stands in one fluid motion, and the air in the room seems to drop 10 degrees. Confine her there until I've confirmed the contents of this glass. Isolde's mask cracks. You're going to take the word of a human servant over mine? Some pathetic waitress who's probably trying to sabotage our engagement out of jealousy? I'm going to take the word of someone who had nothing to gain and everything to lose by speaking up. Soren's eyes finally shift to Bryn, and the weight of his attention makes her want to simultaneously run and root herself to the floor. Whereas you, my dear, have been negotiating territory rights with my brother behind my back for the last 6 months. Isolde's face goes sheet white, then red. Then her lips pull back to reveal fangs that look like porcelain daggers. If you think you can humiliate me like this, remove her. The guards move. Isolde fights, her supernatural strength evident in the way she nearly breaks free, but there are too many of them. Her shrieks of rage echo through the hall even after the doors close behind her. Bryn realizes she's still standing there, frozen like a deer in headlights, while the most powerful vampire in the North American territories turns his full attention on her. What's your name? Bryn, Your Majesty. Bryn Ashford. How did you know, Bryn? She swallows hard. Lady Crenshaw caught me in the kitchen before service. She handed me the wine glass and told me it was pre-selected for you, that I was to serve it and no other. She was very specific about it. Bryn's hands twist in her apron. But I saw her at the preparation station before that. She was alone, and she had a vial, a small one. I didn't think much of it at first, but then when she made such a point of me serving that specific glass, you risked your position here. Possibly your life. Soren tilts his head slightly, studying her like she's a puzzle he hasn't quite solved. Why? The question catches her off guard. Because it was the right thing to do? Something flickers in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or amusement. Most humans wouldn't stick their necks out for a vampire, especially not a vampire king. Most vampire kings wouldn't ask a human her opinion on right and wrong. The words slip out before Bryn can stop them, and she immediately wants to crawl under the nearest table. I'm sorry, that was inappropriate. I'll just go. Stay. It's not a request. Bryn's feet obey before her brain can catch up. Soren gestures to the chair Isolde vacated. Sit. Your Majesty, I can't. You just saved my life. His voice carries an edge now, sharp enough to cut. You can sit at my table. Bryn sits. The chair is still warm. She feels like she's stepped into someone else's body, someone else's life. The other servers have vanished, dismissed or fled. She's not sure which. It's just her and the king in a dining hall that could seat 50, surrounded by wine that costs more than her yearly salary, and silence that presses against her ears. Soren signals to someone she can't see. A moment later, a different server, a vampire with kind eyes and a nervous smile, appears with fresh wine and a clean glass. Your Majesty? The server's voice is questioning. Test it. The vampire takes a delicate sip, waits. 30 seconds pass. A minute. He nods. It's clean, sire. Soren dismisses him with a wave, then pours 2 glasses. One for himself, one for Bryn. He slides hers across the table. I don't drink on the job, she says automatically. You're not on the job anymore. Not tonight, anyway. He raises his glass slightly. To humans with more courage than sense. Bryn's hand shakes as she lifts her own glass. The wine tastes like dark cherries and something else. Something rich and complex that coats her tongue. It's probably worth more than her car. What will happen to her? She shouldn't ask. It's none of her business. But the words come anyway. That depends on what the wine contains. Soren's expression is unreadable again. If it's a sedative or something meant to incapacitate me, she'll be stripped of her titles and exiled. If it's something more lethal, he pauses, then the consequences will be more severe. She seemed very certain you'd drink it. She knows I never refuse a specific vintage. It's one of my few predictable habits. He takes another sip, watching Bryn over the rim of his glass. She's been planning this for a while. I should have seen it coming. Why would she want to kill you? You're engaged. Marriage among vampire nobility is rarely about love, Bryn. It's about territory, alliances, power. Isolde's family controls the western seaboard. My brother has been trying to expand into their territory for decades. Soren sets his glass down with deliberate care. If I died, and Isolde married him instead, which I'm certain was her plan, the alliance would shift entirely. My holdings would fall to my brother through their union, and the western seaboard would stay in Crenshaw hands. Bryn struggles for words, that's horrible. That's politics. It's still horrible. This time, she's certain he almost smiles. Yes, it is. They sit in silence for a moment. Bryn's mind is racing, trying to process what just happened. She stopped an assassination. She saved a king. She's drinking wine that costs more than her rent, while said king watches her with eyes that seem to see straight through her. I need to offer you compensation, Soren says finally. That's not necessary. Yes, it is. His voice goes firm. You saved my life. That requires recompense. I just did what anyone would. No. He leans forward slightly, and Bryn feels the full weight of his presence, centuries of power and authority concentrated in one unnervingly attractive package. You did what almost no one would do. You risked everything on the slim hope that I'd believe you over someone of my own kind, someone of noble blood. His eyes don't leave hers. That deserves recognition. Bryn's mouth goes dry. I don't want money. Then what do you want? The question hangs between them. Bryn thinks about her mother, struggling through chemotherapy in a hospital bed across town. Thinks about the medical bills stacked on her kitchen counter, red notices multiplying like rabbits. Thinks about the 2 jobs she works, the exhaustion that settles into her bones, the way her life has narrowed to work and worry, and the thin hope that maybe, somehow, things will get better. My mother is sick, she hears herself say. Cancer. Stage 3. The treatments are experimental, and the insurance won't cover them anymore. She's not sure why she's telling him this. Maybe because she's already crossed every professional boundary tonight. Maybe because those silver eyes make her want to tell the truth. I've been trying to pay out of pocket, but I'm drowning. I work here and at a coffee shop downtown, and it's still not enough. Soren's expression doesn't change, but something in his posture shifts. What's her name? Caroline Ashford. Where is she being treated? Mercy General, but Your Majesty, I'm not asking for... Yes, you are. He pulls out his phone, sleek, black, somehow both modern and timeless, and types something quickly. Consider it done. What? Your mother's medical bills. They'll be paid in full by morning. The hospital will receive instructions to provide whatever treatment is necessary going forward, regardless of cost. He looks up from the screen. Is there anything else? Bryn feels like she's been punched in the chest. I can't. That's too much. It's barely anything to me and everything to you. That makes it a worthwhile exchange. He sets the phone down. But there's something else I want to offer. Her heart is still trying to restart from his first bombshell. What? I need someone I can trust in my household. Someone who's proven they'll choose honesty over self-preservation. Soren's gaze is steady, unwavering. I want to hire you as my personal attendant. The words don't make sense. Bryn blinks at him. Your what? Personal attendant. You'd manage my schedule, handle private correspondence, attend meetings with me. It's a position of significant trust. He pauses. The pay would be substantial. Enough that you wouldn't need to work multiple jobs. You'd have access to the palace's medical resources for your mother. And you'd be under my direct protection. Why would you offer me that? Because I believe you're exactly the kind of person I need in my inner circle. Someone who sees what's right and acts on it. Consequences be damned. His voice goes softer. And because I suspect you've been invisible for a long time, Bryn. I'd like to change that. The words hit something deep inside her chest. Invisible? Yes, that's exactly what she's been. A shadow moving through other people's lives, serving their meals and cleaning up their messes, and existing only as a function, never as a person. I don't know anything about being a personal attendant to a king. You'll learn. I'm patient. He stands, moving around the table with that preternatural grace. He stops a few feet from her chair, close enough that she has to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Think about it. You don't have to answer tonight. But Bryn realizes she already knows her answer. It's the same one that pushed her to slide that napkin under his plate. The same one that's made her keep fighting even when everything felt impossible. Yes, she says. I'll do it. This time Soren definitely smiles. It transforms his face, making him look less like an ancient predator and more like someone. Someone real. Good. Go home tonight. Get some rest. Come back tomorrow at sunset and we'll discuss the details. He extends his hand, and after a moment's hesitation, Bryn takes it. His skin is cool, his grip firm. Thank you, Bryn. You gave me something very few people ever have. What's that? A reason to trust again. He releases her hand and steps back, and Bryn feels the dismissal in the gesture. She stands on legs that feel like water, gives an awkward half-curtsy because she's not sure what else to do, and somehow manages to walk toward the doors without falling over. She's halfway across the room when his voice stops her. "Bryn?" She turns. "If you'd stayed silent tonight, if you'd let me drink that wine." He pauses and something vulnerable flickers across his face. "I want you to know I wouldn't have held it against you. You owed me nothing." "I know," she says quietly, "but I owed myself the knowledge that I tried." She doesn't wait for his response. She walks out into the night, into air that tastes like autumn and possibilities, and lets herself shake apart in the parking lot next to her beat-up Honda. Her phone buzzes, a text from an unknown number. All medical bills paid, treatment authorized. Your mother will receive the best care available. S.N. Bryn slides down the side of her car and cries into her hands. Great, gasping sobs that feel like they're being pulled from somewhere deep inside her. She cries for her mother, for herself, for the terror and relief and sheer impossibility of the last hour. When she finally stops, the moon is high and bright. She drives to the hospital, walks into her mother's room, and finds Caroline awake, looking confused and hopeful. "Bryn? Sweetheart, what's wrong?" "I just got a call from the hospital administration. They said someone paid everything. All of it, and they want to start a new treatment protocol immediately. What happened?" Bryn sits on the edge of the bed and takes her mother's hand. "I did something brave," she says, "and someone noticed." The next evening, Bryn arrives at the Crimson Sovereign wearing her nicest dress, which isn't saying much, and feeling like an imposter. She's directed through corridors she's never seen before, past guards who nod at her with something that might be respect, until she reaches a set of double doors carved with intricate designs. A vampire woman with silver hair and sharp features opens them. "Miss Ashford, His Majesty is expecting you. I'm Petra, the household manager. We'll be working together." The rooms beyond are beautiful in a way that makes Bryn's chest ache. High ceilings, walls lined with books, furniture that looks like it belongs in a museum. And in the center of it all, Soren, bent over a desk covered in papers. He looks up when she enters. "Bryn, good. We have a lot to discuss." The next hour is a whirlwind. Soren explains her duties, most of which sound impossible until he breaks them down into manageable pieces. He shows her the scheduling system, introduces her to key staff members, and explains the delicate politics of his court with a dry humor that surprises her. "The most important thing," he says at one point, "is that you tell me the truth. Always. Even when, especially when, it's something I don't want to hear. Can you do that?" "I slid a note under your plate accusing your fiancé of poisoning you," Bryn points out. "I think I can manage honesty." He laughs, an actual laugh, warm and genuine. "Fair point." They're interrupted by Petra, who enters with a grim expression. "Your Majesty, the analysis is complete." Soren's entire demeanor shifts. "And?" "Nightshade extract. Concentrated. Enough to kill a vampire of your age and power within minutes." The temperature in the room plummets. Bryn wraps her arms around herself, suddenly cold. "She tried to murder me," Soren says quietly. "In my own home, at my own table." "Yes, sire." "Convene the council, tomorrow night. We'll hold a formal hearing." His jaw sets. "And send word to Isolde that she should prepare to answer for attempted regicide." Petra bows and withdraws. Soren stands motionless for a long moment, staring at nothing. "Your Majesty?" Bryn ventures. "I trusted her." His voice is soft, almost wondering. "Not with my heart, perhaps, but with my life. I let her close because I thought—" He stops, shakes his head. "It doesn't matter what I thought." Bryn moves closer before she can overthink it. "It matters. You're allowed to be hurt even when someone only pretended to care about you." He looks at her then, really looks at her, and she sees something raw in his expression. "You're very wise for someone so young." "I'm 32, and I'm not wise. I'm just tired of people treating feelings like their weaknesses. In my world, they are. Then maybe your world needs to change. The silence that follows feels charged, electric. Soren takes a step closer, then stops himself. You should go home. It's been a long night. What about you? I have work to do. Bryn recognizes the dismissal for what it is. Not rejection, but self-protection. She gathers her things and heads for the door, but pauses on the threshold. For what it's worth, she says without turning around, I think you're more than just a king. I think you're a person who deserves to be treated like one. She doesn't wait for his response, but as she walks away, she swears she hears him whisper, Thank you. The council meeting happens 3 nights later. Bryn isn't supposed to attend. It's for nobility only, but Soren insists she be present. You're a witness, he explains, and more than that, you're the reason we're here. You have a right to see justice done. So Bryn finds herself in a massive chamber, seated in a chair that's far too grand for someone like her, watching as Isolde Crenshaw is brought in chains before a semicircle of the most powerful vampires in the territory. Isolde looks diminished somehow, her beauty turned brittle and desperate. When her eyes land on Bryn, they fill with pure hatred. This is absurd, Isolde spits. You're taking the word of a human over mine? She probably poisoned the wine herself and blamed me to gain favor with the king. The evidence says otherwise, Soren replies from his seat at the center of the council. His voice is ice and iron. We have the vial you used, recovered from your chambers. It has your fingerprints. We have testimony from 3 kitchen staff members who saw you near the wine preparation area at the relevant time. And we have Miss Ashford's account, which has been verified through multiple sources. She's lying. She's a pathetic little human who probably fell in love with you the moment she laid eyes on you. This is her attempt to... Enough. Soren's voice cracks like thunder. You attempted to assassinate me. You conspired with my brother to divide my territories. You betrayed every oath you took when we agreed to be married. He leans forward. Do you deny any of this? Isolde's mouth works soundlessly. Then slowly, her expression shifts into something calculating. What if I do? What if I confess to everything? Will you show mercy? Why would I? Because you loved me once. Her voice goes soft, pleading. Before the politics and the arrangements. When we first met, at the summit in Vienna. You loved me then, Soren. I know you did. Something complicated crosses Soren's face. Perhaps I did. But that was before you decided I was worth more dead than alive. I never wanted to kill you. I just wanted... She stops, seems to catch herself. It doesn't matter what I wanted. You'll never forgive me anyway. No, Soren agrees quietly. I won't. The council deliberates for less than an hour. The sentence is exile, permanent, irrevocable. Isolde will be stripped of her titles, her lands, her access to vampire society. She'll be turned out into the human world with nothing. For a vampire who's lived for centuries in wealth and power, it's a death sentence of a different kind. Bryn watches as guards lead Isolde away. The vampire woman's eyes find hers one last time, and the look there makes Bryn's blood run cold. She'll blame you for this, a voice says beside her. Petra has materialized at her elbow. You should be careful. I know. Good. Come with me. Petra leads Bryn through a series of corridors until they reach a suite of rooms that takes her breath away. Bedroom, sitting room, private bathroom, all decorated in warm golds and creams. What is this? Your quarters. Did you think you'd commute? Petra's smile is wry. You're the king's personal attendant now. You live here. It's safer, and it makes you available when he needs you. Bryn's head spins. I can't just move in here. I have an apartment, and my mother... Your mother is being transferred to the palace's medical wing as we speak. She'll receive round-the-clock care from the best physicians in the territory. Petra's expression softens slightly. His Majesty has thought of everything. He takes care of those under his protection. The next weeks blur together in a cascade of new experiences. Bryn learns the rhythms of Soren's life, the late nights spent in meetings, the careful diplomacy required to navigate vampire politics, the occasional flashes of humor that peek through his carefully maintained composure. She learns that he takes his coffee black and scorching hot, that he has a weakness for mystery novels, that he plays piano when he's stressed but thinks no one is listening. She learns to read his moods in the set of his shoulders, the way his jaw tightens when he's angry, the slight smile that means he's genuinely pleased rather than just being polite. And somewhere in all of that learning, something shifts between them. It starts small. His hand on her elbow when she stumbles on the stairs. The way his eyes follow her when she moves around his office. The night she finds him staring at reports and brings him tea without being asked, and he looks at her like she's handed him the moon. "You didn't have to do that," he says quietly. "I know, but you looked like you needed it. Bryn." Her name sounds different in his mouth, careful, weighted. "I need to tell you something." Her heart does something complicated. "Okay. Having you here, working with me, it's made me realize how much I've been missing. Not just efficiency or competence, though you have both, but genuine care. You care whether I'm tired or stressed or lonely. You care about me as a person, not just as a king." He stands, moves closer, and I find myself caring about you in return. More than I should. More than is probably wise. Bryn's breath catches. "Your Majesty." "Soren, please. When we're alone, I'm just Soren." "Soren," she tries, and his name feels dangerous on her tongue. "I'm human. You're you. We're from completely different worlds. I know. And if you're not interested, if this is just me projecting onto someone who's shown me kindness, tell me now, and we'll never speak of it again." He's close enough now that she can see the silver flecks in his eyes. "But if there's any chance you feel even a fraction of what I'm feeling—" "I do," she whispers. "I've been trying not to. But I do." The kiss happens like something inevitable. His hand cups her face with infinite gentleness, and his lips are cool against hers, but the kiss itself is pure heat. Bryn's hands find his chest, feeling the solidity of him, and when he pulls her closer, she makes a sound that's half gasp, half surrender. When they finally break apart, both breathing hard, Soren rests his forehead against hers. "I want to do this right," he says. "Court you properly, show you that you matter to me. Not as an employee or a subject, but as a woman I admire deeply." "That sounds nice." Bryn's voice comes out shaky. "But Soren, your world? They're not going to accept this. A human and a vampire king? The nobility can adjust. I've spent centuries letting politics dictate my personal life. I'm done with that." His thumb traces her cheekbone. "If you're willing to try this with me, I'll handle the rest." It's a promise and a declaration, and a revolution all at once. Over the following months, Soren keeps his word. He courts her with an intensity that's both thrilling and terrifying. Private dinners where they talk about everything and nothing. Walks through the palace gardens under stars that seem brighter than they should be. The night he takes her to the opera, and she watches him watch her instead of the stage, like she's more fascinating than any performance. He's careful with her, always asking permission, always making sure she feels safe. The first time they make love, he asks her 3 times if she's certain, and his hands shake slightly when she says yes. "I'm nervous," he admits against her skin. "I haven't felt this way about anyone I can't remember how long." "Neither have I," she whispers back. "We'll figure it out together." And they do. It's slow and tender and occasionally awkward and absolutely perfect. Afterward, lying in his arms while he traces patterns on her shoulder, Bryn feels like she's finally found somewhere she belongs. But happiness, she's learning, always comes with a price. The first sign of trouble comes at a formal dinner party. Bryn is there as Soren's companion. Not a secret anymore, though not officially announced either. And the stares she receives from the vampire nobility range from curious to contemptuous. A vampire lord named Theron corners her near the refreshment table. He's all polished charm and calculated cruelty. So you're the little human who's caught the king's eye. How novel. Bryn keeps her voice level. Lord Theron, are you enjoying the evening? Oh, immensely. It's not every day we get to watch someone so far above their station. His smile is all teeth. Tell me, dear, what exactly do you bring to this relationship, besides the obvious novelty factor? I bring myself, Bryn says coolly. Apparently that's enough. For now. Theron leans closer, his voice dropping. But novelties wear off, don't they? And when the king tires of his little experiment, where will you be? Too vampire-touched for the human world, too human for ours. You'll belong nowhere. The words hit harder than they should because part of her has been thinking the same thing. But before she can respond, Soren is there, sliding between them with lethal grace. Theron, I believe your presence is required elsewhere. Your Majesty, I was just insulting the woman I love. Yes, I heard. Soren's voice is pleasant, but his eyes promise violence. You'll leave now, or I'll have you removed. Your choice. Theron's face goes pale. He bows stiffly and retreats. Soren turns to Bryn, concern etching his features. Are you all right? Fine. He's just an asshole with good aim. But her hands are shaking, and Soren sees. He takes her hand, pulls her toward the center of the room where everyone can see them. The conversations around them die to murmurs. I have an announcement, Soren says, his voice carrying effortlessly. I've been keeping something private that deserves to be public. Bryn Ashford is not just my personal attendant. She is the woman I love, the woman who saved my life, and the woman I intend to make my queen. If anyone has an issue with that, they're welcome to discuss it with me directly. The silence is absolute. Bryn stares at him, her heart in her throat. Did you just claim you publicly? Yes. He brings her hand to his lips, kisses it while maintaining eye contact. I'm done hiding what matters to me. And you matter more than anything. The room erupts. Some of the reactions are positive, genuine smiles and respectful nods, but others are less so. Bryn hears whispers, sees expressions of shock and disapproval. She also sees her mother standing near the doorway in a wheelchair that the palace physicians provided. Caroline Ashford is smiling through tears, and when Bryn catches her eye, she mouths, I'm so proud of you. That's when it hits her. Soren didn't just claim her. He validated her in front of everyone who matters in his world. He took a waitress, a nobody, someone who was invisible, and made her impossible to ignore. Thank you, she whispers to him. For what? For seeing me, really seeing me. His expression goes soft. How could I not? You're incandescent. The word settles into her chest like a warm stone. The pushback comes, of course. Vampire nobility who think she's unworthy, human activists who think she's betrayed her kind, endless speculation from both worlds about what she could possibly offer a centuries-old king. But Soren stands firm. He handles each challenge with patient strength, and when Bryn falters, because she does sometimes, under the weight of all those judging eyes, he's there to steady her. You saved my life twice, he tells her one night when she's feeling particularly low. Once with your courage, and once with your heart. I was barely living before you. Now I'm alive. 6 months after the public announcement, Soren takes Bryn back to the Crimson Sovereign's dining hall. It's been renovated since that night, brighter, warmer, less austere. I wanted to bring you here, he says, guiding her to a table set for 2, where it all started. Why? He actually kneels, and produces a ring box from his pocket. The ring inside is simple and perfect, a deep blue sapphire surrounded by diamonds. Because this is where a brave woman slipped a note under my plate and changed everything. And I want this to be where I ask her to change everything again. His voice is steady, but his hands shake slightly. Bryn Ashford, will you marry me? Not because of politics or territory or alliances, but because I love you more than I thought I could love anyone. Bryn's vision blurs with tears. Yes. God, yes. The ring slides onto her finger perfectly. Soren rises and kisses her, and somewhere in the building, someone starts clapping. Then more people join in, and Bryn realizes the restaurant is full of staff members, all the people who watched her slip that napkin, who saw the beginning of this impossible story. They're applauding not just an engagement, but a triumph, a waitress who became a queen. A woman who chose courage over safety, and got everything she never knew she wanted. That night, lying in bed with Soren's arms around her, and her mother safely asleep in the medical wing, and a future spreading out before her like an unexplored country, Bryn thinks about that terrified version of herself. The one who could barely afford rent, who worked herself to exhaustion, who felt invisible. She wishes she could tell that woman what's waiting for her. That the note she's about to slide under a king's plate will lead to this. To love and safety, and being seen so completely it sometimes takes her breath away. But maybe that woman already knew, in some deep way. Maybe that's why she was brave enough to act when it mattered most. What are you thinking about? Soren murmurs against her hair. How strange life is. How a single moment can change everything. Are you happy? Bryn turns in his arms to face him. In the moonlight streaming through the windows, he looks both ancient and young, powerful and vulnerable. I'm incandescent, she tells him, and means it. His smile is the sun rising. Yes, you are. Outside, the city sleeps. Inside, a former waitress and a vampire king hold each other and dream of the life they're building together, one brave choice at a time. The engagement announcement spreads through vampire society like wildfire, and for 3 blissful weeks, Bryn allows herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, the hardest part is over. She's wrong. It happens during the spring solstice gala, the most important social event in the vampire calendar. Every major house sends representatives, and this year, the gala is being hosted at Soren's palace. Bryn has been planning it for weeks alongside Petra, obsessing over every detail until the older vampire finally told her to breathe before she passed out. Bryn wears a gown the color of midnight, custom made by a designer who actually listened to what she wanted instead of what they thought she should want. Soren hasn't seen it yet. He's been in meetings all day with visiting dignitaries. She's nervous about the reveal, about standing beside him in front of hundreds of vampires as his acknowledged future queen. She's adjusting her earrings in her suite when her mother's nurse rushes in, face pale. Miss Ashford, you need to come quickly. Your mother... Bryn doesn't wait for the rest. She runs through the corridors in her heels, not caring who sees, her heart hammering against her ribs. When she bursts into her mother's room in the medical wing, Caroline is sitting up in bed, looking confused but alert. Mom? What happened? Are you okay? I'm fine, sweetheart. I just got dizzy for a moment. The nurse overreacted. But Caroline's hand trembles when she reaches for Bryn's. You look beautiful. You should go to your party. I'm not leaving you. Bryn Marie Ashford, if you miss that gala because of me, I will haunt you when I'm dead. Caroline's voice carries the steel that Bryn inherited. I'm fine. The doctors are checking my vitals now. Everything is stable. Dr. Reeves, the vampire physician who's been overseeing Caroline's care, nods confirmation. Her blood pressure spiked briefly, but it's already normalizing. I believe it was simply anxiety about the event tonight. She's been worried about you. I can't help it, Caroline says. You're marrying a king, baby. That's terrifying for a mother to watch. Bryn sits on the edge of the bed and takes both her mother's hands. You don't need to worry. Soren loves me. He protects me. I know he does. I see it in how he looks at you. Caroline's eyes fill with tears. I just wish your father was here to walk you down the aisle. He would have loved this. All of it. The impossibility of it. He would have made terrible dad jokes about vampire in-laws. So many puns. Just terrible. They laugh together, and Bryn feels the knot in her chest loosen slightly. A knock at the door interrupts them. Petra enters, her expression carefully neutral. "Miss Ashford, the guests are arriving. His Majesty is asking for you." Bryn squeezes her mother's hands one more time, kisses her forehead, and forces herself to leave. But the anxiety follows her like a shadow, settling between her shoulder blades. The ballroom is spectacular. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across marble floors. The orchestra plays something classical and haunting. Vampires in formal wear glide through the space like beautiful predators, all sharp lines and dangerous grace. Soren is standing near the throne dais, speaking with a tall vampire woman in silver. When he sees Bryn, his entire face transforms. He excuses himself and crosses the room to her side in seconds. "You're breathtaking," he murmurs, taking her hand and bringing it to his lips. "Are you all right? Petra said there was an issue with your mother." "False alarm, she's fine." Bryn tries to smile. "Just pre-event jitters." Soren studies her face. "You're sure?" "I'm sure. Let's do this." He tucks her hand into the crook of his elbow and leads her into the crowd. The conversations around them shift, vampires turning to watch their approach. Bryn feels the weight of hundreds of eyes and lifts her chin higher. They make it through the receiving line, through the speeches and toasts, through the first dance where Soren holds her so carefully she wants to cry. Everything is perfect. Everything is fine. Until Marcus Ravencroft arrives. Bryn doesn't know who he is at first. Just another elegant vampire in the sea of aristocratic faces. But she feels the temperature in the room drop when he enters, sees the way other vampires step back to give him space. Soren's hand tightens on her waist. "Stay close to me." "Who is he?" "My brother." The words land like stones. Bryn has heard about Marcus in passing, the brother who tried to expand into Crenshaw territory, the one Isolde was supposedly conspiring with. She hadn't realized he'd be invited tonight. Marcus Ravencroft is tall and dark, where Soren is tall and pale, with eyes like coal and a smile that suggests he knows secrets you wish you didn't have. He moves through the crowd with predatory confidence until he's standing directly in front of them. "Brother, how domestic you've become." Marcus's gaze slides to Bryn, appraising and cold. "And this must be the famous human, the waitress who caught a king." "Miss Ashford is my fiancée," Soren says flatly. "You'll address her with respect." "Of course. My apologies." Marcus's bow is mocking. "Congratulations on your engagement. I'm sure it will be very educational for both of you." Something about his tone makes Bryn's skin crawl. "Thank you for your well wishes, Lord Ravencroft." "Oh, I have more than wishes to offer." Marcus pulls an envelope from his jacket. "I brought a gift. Consider it an engagement present." Soren doesn't move to take it. "What is it?" "Just some information I thought you should have, about your beloved." Marcus's smile widens. "You see, I've been doing some research into Miss Ashford's background. Fascinating what you can find when you dig deep enough." Bryn's blood turns to ice. "What are you talking about?" "Your father, dear Bryn, Daniel Ashford. He died 10 years ago in a car accident, didn't he?" Marcus pauses for effect. "Except that's not quite the whole story, is it?" The ballroom has gone silent. Every vampire is watching now, drawn by the scent of drama like sharks to blood. "My father's death is none of your business," Bryn manages, but her voice shakes. "It becomes my business when the woman marrying into the royal line has secrets that could destabilize the monarchy." Marcus opens the envelope, pulls out a photograph. "Your father didn't die in an accident. He died running from a crime scene. He was embezzling from his employer, a vampire-owned investment firm, and when they discovered it, he tried to flee. The car accident happened during a police chase." Bryn's world tilts sideways. "That's not true. That's a lie." "Is it?" Marcus holds up the photograph, a police report, official and damning. "He stole over $2 million. The firm pressed charges posthumously. Your mother settled quietly to avoid prosecution, using every penny of your father's life insurance. That's why you grew up poor, isn't it?" Not because he didn't leave you anything, but because everything he left was seized to pay restitution. Stop! Soren's voice cuts through the air like a blade. That's enough. Is it? Your bride-to-be comes from criminal stock. Her father was a thief who stole from our kind. What's to say she isn't the same? Maybe saving your life was just a calculated move to get close to you, to access your wealth. Bryn doesn't think. Her hand moves on instinct, connecting with Marcus's face in a slap that echoes through the silent ballroom. Her palm stings. Marcus's head barely moves, but his expression shifts to something dangerous. My father made mistakes, Bryn says, her voice ringing clear despite the tears threatening to fall. He made terrible mistakes. But he was also a man who read me bedtime stories and taught me to ride a bike and loved my mother until the day he died. Yes, he stole money. Yes, he ran. And yes, my mother spent years paying for his choices while I worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. She steps forward, getting in Marcus's face despite the fact that he could kill her without trying. But I am not my father. I didn't choose his actions. And I won't stand here and let you use them to hurt the people I love. The silence that follows is absolute. Bryn realizes what she's done, struck a vampire lord in front of witnesses, and her knees go weak. But Soren's arm is around her waist, steady and strong. You had your moment, Soren says to Marcus, his voice colder than Bryn has ever heard it. Now get out of my home. You're not even going to address the accusations? This woman comes from criminal. I don't care. Soren's words ring with finality. I don't care about her father's crimes. I don't care about your attempt to embarrass her. And I certainly don't care about your transparent attempt to destabilize my reign by attacking the woman I love. He pulls Bryn closer. You've always been jealous, Marcus. Of my position, my territories, my life. But this crosses a line. You're no longer welcome here. Guards. Vampires in palace livery appear from the shadows. Marcus's expression twists with fury. You'll regret this, brother. Choosing a criminal's daughter over your own blood. My blood tried to have me assassinated through Isolde. Bryn saved my life. Soren's eyes flash silver. The choice isn't difficult. Marcus is escorted out, his protests echoing down the corridors. The ballroom remains frozen, hundreds of vampires watching to see what happens next. Soren turns to face them all, Bryn still tucked against his side. Let me be very clear about something. Bryn Ashford is going to be my queen. She comes to this role having earned it through courage, integrity, and kindness, qualities that matter far more than bloodline or pedigree. If anyone here has an issue with that, you're welcome to leave now, and consider yourself no longer under my protection. Nobody moves. Nobody speaks. Good. Soren's voice softens slightly. Now if you'll excuse us, my fiancé and I need a moment. He guides Bryn out of the ballroom, through corridors that blur together, until they're in his private study with the door firmly shut. Only then does Bryn's composure crack. I'm so sorry. I should have told you about my father. I should have... Bryn. Soren cups her face in both hands, tilting her head up until she has no choice but to meet his eyes. You have nothing to apologize for. Nothing. But Marcus was right. My father was a criminal. He stole from vampires. That makes you nothing except the daughter of a complicated man. We're all the children of complicated people, Bryn. My father conquered territories through blood and fire. My mother orchestrated the deaths of 3 rival queens. If we're judged solely by our lineage, none of us deserve happiness. His thumbs brush away her tears with infinite gentleness. I love you. Not your father's memory. Not your family history. You. The woman who risked everything to save a stranger. The woman who works herself to exhaustion for the people she loves. The woman who just slapped a vampire lord to defend her father's memory, which was either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. Probably foolish, Bryn admits, and the laugh that escapes is half sob. Definitely foolish. also magnificent. Soren kisses her forehead, then her cheeks, then finally her mouth, soft and sweet and full of promise. Marcus wanted to humiliate you, to make you feel unworthy. Did it work? Bryn thinks about it. About the stares, the whispers, the weight of judgment. About the truth she's carried for years like a stone in her chest. That her father's mistakes cost her everything. That she's been paying for his choices her entire life. But she also thinks about her mother, fighting cancer with steel in her spine. About the note she slipped under a king's plate. About choosing courage even when it was terrifying. No, she says finally. It didn't work. I am worthy. Maybe not because of where I came from, but because of who I chose to become. Soren's smile is sunlight breaking through clouds. That's my queen. They return to the ballroom together, and this time when Bryn walks through those doors, she doesn't lower her eyes. She meets the stairs head-on, her hand firmly clasped in Soren's. The orchestra begins playing again. Conversations resume. Life continues. But something has shifted. Bryn sees it in the way certain vampires nod to her with new respect. Sees it in the way others who might have challenged her think better of it. She faced down Marcus Ravencroft and lived. She was exposed and vulnerable and chose defiance instead of shame. A vampire woman approaches them, the one in silver that Soren was speaking with earlier. She has kind eyes and a gentle smile. Miss Ashford. I wanted to introduce myself properly. I'm Helena Winterbourne, head of the Council of Territories. She extends her hand. What you did tonight took remarkable courage. Not the slap, though that was certainly memorable, but the honesty. Many would have crumbled under that kind of exposure. You stood tall. I had a good example, Bryn says, glancing at Soren. Indeed, but the strength was all yours. Helena's expression turns thoughtful. The council has been discussing your upcoming role as queen. We'd like to invite you to meet with us, to share your perspective on human-vampire relations. Your unique position could be valuable in bridging our worlds. It's an olive branch. More than that, it's acceptance. I'd be honored, Bryn says. The rest of the evening passes in a blur of introductions and careful political conversations. By the time the last guests depart, Bryn's feet are killing her and her face hurts from smiling, but there's also a lightness in her chest she hasn't felt in years. Soren walks her back to her rooms, reluctant to leave her at the door. I should check on my mother, Bryn says. I already sent Dr. Reeves to examine her again. She's sleeping peacefully. He traces her jawline with one finger. Stay with me tonight? Is that appropriate for the future queen? The future queen can do whatever she wants. That's one of the perks. His expression turns serious. I almost lost you tonight. Not physically, but I saw how much Marcus's words hurt you. I need to hold you, to remind myself that you're here and you're mine, and nothing can change that. How can she say no to that? His rooms are familiar now. She's spent enough nights here that she has her own drawer in his dresser, her own space in his bathroom. But tonight feels different. Sacred, somehow. They undress slowly, helping each other with buttons and zippers. Soren's hands shake slightly when he slides the midnight gown off her shoulders. I was so proud of you tonight, he murmurs against her skin. You were magnificent. I was terrified. You were both. That's what made it magnificent. He lifts her, carries her to the bed with supernatural ease. Let me worship you. Let me show you how I see you. And he does. With hands and mouth and whispered words, he maps every inch of her until she's trembling and gasping his name. When they finally come together, it's slow and deliberate, their eyes locked, their breathing synchronized. I love you, Soren says, and his voice breaks on the words. I love you so much, it frightens me sometimes. I love you too, Bryn whispers back. Even when it's terrifying, especially then. After lying in the dark with her head on his chest and his fingers trailing patterns on her back, Bryn finally lets herself relax completely. The crisis has passed. She survived Marcus's attack. She's exactly where she belongs. Soren? Thank you for choosing me, even when it was complicated. Thank you for being someone worth choosing. He presses a kiss to her hair. Sleep now. Tomorrow we'll start planning our wedding. A royal wedding? That's going to be insane. Probably. But we'll face it together. Together. It's become Bryn's favorite word. 3 months later, they marry in the palace gardens under a sky full of stars. Caroline walks Bryn down the aisle, healthy enough now that she only needs a cane instead of the wheelchair. The ceremony blends human and vampire traditions, and when Soren slides the ring onto Bryn's finger, his hand is perfectly steady. "My queen," he says, and the words hold an entire world. "My king," she replies, and means it with everything she has. The kiss that follows is witnessed by hundreds, but Bryn only feels Soren. His arms around her, his mouth on hers, his heart beating in time with her own. Later, at the reception, Caroline takes Bryn's hands and smiles through happy tears. "Your father would have been so proud," she says. So impossibly proud. Bryn thinks about her father, flawed and human and trying his best. She thinks about forgiveness, about choosing who you become rather than accepting who you came from. "I know," she says. "I'm proud too." As night deepens and stars wheel overhead, Bryn dances with her husband and her king, and the man who saw her when she was invisible. She thinks about that terrified waitress who slipped a note under a dinner plate, taking the biggest risk of her life on nothing but hope and conscience. She wishes she could tell that woman what's waiting for her. But maybe some things you have to discover for yourself. That courage compounds, that love transforms, that sometimes the smallest acts of bravery lead to the biggest changes. Soren pulls her closer, whispers something that makes her laugh, and Bryn thinks, this is it. This is the life she gets to live. Not perfect, not uncomplicated, but hers in every way that matters.